The 10 Commandments. Just those 3 words probably just did something in your body. Maybe a little tightening, a little dread, maybe a flash of that list in your head and the weight that always seemed to come with it. And now you're supposed to teach them to your kids. Now, here's what I want to do for your children. I don't want them to grow up with the same tightening, the same dread, the same sense that the 10 Commandments are a list of ways to fail God instead of a picture of how to love Him. The good news, really good news, is that the way you avoid that isn't complicated. You don't need a curriculum. You don't need to walk through all 10 line by line. You just need one thing. You need to tell them the story in the right order. Let's go.
Are you a mom who has been struggling in your faith but not sure why? Are you wanting to grow closer to God but not sure where to start? You're in the right place. Hi, I'm Ash, mom of 2, wife, and completely obsessed with Jesus. I grew up believing I was a good Christian until watching my child suffer led to my faith unraveling. It wasn't until 2 a.m. in my son's hospital bed that I went to God fully as myself that my faith transformed. If you are ready to have an authentic relationship with God and feel peace within your home, then grab that cozy blanket, open your Bible, and let's seek God together. Welcome to Faith-Filled Home.
Before we dive in, I want to make sure that you have the BAM 3-minute prayer in your hands. This is a prayer that I wrote for me and my kids because honestly, when you have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old and you want to teach them how to pray, you're lucky if you get 3 minutes. This is not to rush prayer. This is to teach it. Go grab it right now at BeMightyMom.com/BAM. And guess what? It comes with a free printable that your kids can look at all the time. So go grab it right now. All right, now let's go. Here's a sequence that changes everything. And it's right there in Exodus if you read it slowly enough to catch it. God rescued his people first. They had 400 years of slavery. He heard them crying, and he came and he got them out. Now, 400 years probably seems like a lot to us on earth, but to God, it's like a blip, right? So I like to keep that in the perspective too of like 400 years is a long time for us, but to God, who is infinite and limitless, it's a blip. But he got them out. The sea parted, the cloud led them by day and fire by night. He fed them in the desert when they had nothing. He took care of them before he asked anything of them. That's step 1. And step 1 is the rescue because God rescues his people. Then, and this is the part that gets skipped. Okay, don't skip this part. The people trusted him. Yeah, they trusted him. Exodus 19, right before the 10 Commandments, Israel says, "We will do everything the Lord has said." They trusted him. And not because they had to or were scared into it, because he had shown them who he was. He rescued them. He provided for them. He showed up. And they said, "We're in. We trust you. We'll do what you say." That's step 2, the trust. And then after the rescue, after the trust, God gives them the commandments as the way they show him love back. As the answer to the question, are we to trust you? How do we live in this? How do we love you? How do we love each other? The commandments were the answer to that question, not a test, not a threat, a love language. This is how you love me. By loving me first and by loving the people I put around you. Jesus said it himself, right? In Matthew chapter 22, verse 37 through 40. When he asks which commandment was the greatest, he said, "Love God with everything you have and love your neighbor the same way you love yourself." Every single commandment, he said, hangs on those 2 things. Love God. Love people. That is the 10 Commandments in one breath. So how do you give that to your kids? Not with a list, with a story. The story is the rescue. Tell them God loved his people so much, he came and he got them out of a really hard situation. He took care of them, and because of that, they trusted him. And then he showed them how to love him back. The sentence is, the 10 Commandments are how we show God we love him, by loving him and by loving the people around us. That's it, right? Your preschooler can understand that. And honestly, maybe now you can too. You don't need to go commandment by commandment. You don't need a breakdown. You just need them to understand right now that the commandments came from a relationship that already existed, one built on rescue and trust. And they're the response to that, not the price of it. And when your kids are older and they start asking specific commandments and specific questions, that the foundation is already there, right? The foundation is there. They already know that this is love, not law. Though it is law. It is law. It's God's law. But they see it and know it as love. This is a response. And every specific commandment they encounter gets interpreted through the lens of this is how I show God love. And here's the thing about this that matters for you, not just your kids. Oh, hold your breath, please. Just go. Bear with me. Fear-based religion taught you that the commandments were the door. You follow them and you're in. You break them and you're out. And that's backwards. The door was always the rescue. The commandments always came after the door was already open. When you teach your kids the right sequence, right? Rescue, trust, then love and response, you're not just giving them a better understanding of the commandments, you're healing your own relationship with God at the same time, and your relationship with the 10 Commandments. Because every time you explain it right, it goes a little deeper into your body too. The commandments are not a weapon. They never were. They're a love language from God, who rescued first and asked questions later. Now, the M in BAM is magnify God. So we celebrate who he is. This is exactly where the 10 Commandments belong in your prayer life with your kids, not as a checklist of what God demands of us, but as a reason to magnify who he is. Before you ever talk about what he asks, let your kids hear you celebrate the God who rescues, the God who shows up when his people cry out, the God who took care of them in the desert before he asked them to do anything. God, you are the one who rescues. You loved your people before you asked anything of them. You showed up first. Let that be the first thing in their bodies about who God is and what the 10 Commandments is asking of them. And then everything he asks of them, every commandment they ever hear after that, lands in the right soil. One thing this week you can do, tell your kids the sequence. Just that. In your own words. Whatever works for their age. Use my words, but use your words too. Use discernment. God rescued his people. He took care of them. They trusted him. And then he showed them how to love him back by loving him and loving each other. You just gave them the whole entire framework for the 10 Commandments without ever teaching them the full list, without giving them the weight that you have carried your entire life, without the version that has left you flinching. That's enough for this week because you're planting the sequence. The rest grows from there. You are giving your kids a relationship with the 10 Commandments that is completely different from the one you had. Not because you're a theology expert, because honestly, neither am I. I'm not. Because you know the story now, and you know the right order to tell it, right? What is it? Rescue, trust, love, and response. And your kids are going to grow up knowing the commandments as a picture of how love moves, not a list of ways to fail God. The version that wounded you stops here in the story you tell them. Go tell it now.
Hi, Goodbye.
I hope this episode helped you feel closer to God and recharged in your faith. I pray it validated and healed you in ways you didn't think were possible. If it did, would you share this episode with another mom who needs it? It would mean the world to me too if you would leave a review. Talk to you soon, friend. Now, go be mighty, Mom.